Students, this is Anita Goswami, Assistant Professor of English at Government College Rajgarh Churu. Welcome in our today's online lecture. Now, in our today's lecture, we will discuss about the text of this poem, The Seven Ages of Man by William Shakespeare. So, as you know, in our earlier lecture, we had the discussion about a brief introduction of the poem and poet as well. So, the poem is a kind of philosophical reflection on human life and the role of humans in it. So, actually, it a kind of monologue, as speech by a single person, Jacques, who gives who tries to give his personal argument or personal thoughts about the futility of human life, what he thinks about, and in a way it also resonates the ideology of the poet as well. So now, coming to the text of this poem, here we are. All the world's stays, and all the men and women merely players. So you see here that this is a very famous and often quoted line, all the world's stays, and it has many implications. As Shakespeare is comparing the world to a stage, which must have naturally appealed to him since he was a playwright. So the idea of the world as a stage was also around before Shakespeare, and it was made popular by Richard Edwards as well. He finds a similarity between the world and the stage, as in the stage is full of action just like the world. So he is comparing that the world is just like a stage. Now in the next line, and all the men and women merely players. Shakespeare says that all men and women are actors on the stage of the world in the play of life. So our own human life is a kind of play. So the words merely tells us here that he regards a singular human life very small and inconsequential in the grand expanse of the world. It also alludes to the writer's belief in some kind of world order, maybe nature or nature's God, before which we are trivial beings. We observe a feeling of vanity and existential crisis in the character's voice. And in next, he says, they have their exits and their entrances. So, here the poet is talking about life and death as in terms of exits and entrances on stage. So, life and death and how they are inevitable in an individual's life. So, what we should pay attention to here is that the plural form of the words exist and entrances. The speaker isn't talking only about life and death, he is talking about human relationships as well. That people come and go in our lives, relations are made, broken, and re established. So, these kind of the circular nature, human life is going on always, it keeps going on. Further, what is truly noteworthy is that the speaker puts exits before entrances, which gives off the somber mood of the character and the scene in general, so that we all have our exits and entrances. Means we all takes birth and dies as well. And next, he says, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being seven ages. The first part of this line says that man plays many parts throughout his lifetime. The word parts is not only restricted to the ages but has a broader connotation. It means the different roles we play in life as a child, a parent, a sibling, a spouse, as a teacher, or any role, etc. So the later part of the line, it says His acts being 7 ages, that a person plays these several parts stressed over 7 acts, which are 7 different ages of human life. So this is again a play analogy. We see a clever association between plays and life in this introductory part of the dialogue. And what kind of these ages are? The poet has talked about one by one, as we see here. At first, the infant, mewling and pecking in the nurse's arms. The first stage of life is birth, when individual takes birth. All life begins with birth. When a child is born, it is completely oblivious to the cares of the world. Infants, uh, infant doesn't do much. Infant is dependent on their mother and caretaker. So we see that the speaker establishes the first stage of life as the stage of dependency. Infants have no other way of calling out other than their cry. So mewling and pecking in the nurse's arm. They keep on crying. So they cannot eat and they are dependent on their mother's milk or nurses. They often vomit. So in England of Shakespeare's times, babies were delivered at home by nurses. So it also happened in and in older times across the world, we can say. So the mewling and pecking in nurse's arms sets a scene of a child born moments ago. So, but this stage is not just limited to the time period of birth. This stage of life extended till the infant is old enough to go to school. Now, moving ahead. Then the winning schoolboy, with his scattered and shining morning face, creeping like snail, unwillingly to school. So, after that, when the infant grows into a child, he no longer needs the complete attention to his parents and custodians, and they send him to school to educate him in the ways of the world. But the infant who has seen only love and adoration from his immediate environment looks reluctantly towards this change. Uh, he whines and cries and throws from tantrums towards separation from his parents. When he becomes a little older, a child, a school-going boy, we say the parents, however, know what is best for their children. They force him to go to school. So they dress him in the school uniform and give him his satchel and make him ready for school. The little child, however, is unwilling to go to school. So this description of the second stage of a person's life is again a generalization by the poet, as in his time it was only a select few who could afford education. So most of the children were either homeschooled or learned their way about the world from observation. So this is the second stage of men. And now moving ahead. And then the lovers sighing like furnace with a woeful ballad made to his mistress eyebrow. So next here, the poet is talking about the third stage. The educated youth is in the height of teenage when adolescence sets in. To the asphalt here, the child now weaves the dreams of love. He witnesses new changes in his mind, his human body, and feels differently than he's done before. Now his heart is set on love, and he pines for his mistress. He writes and sings sad ballad songs for his mistress or for his beloved, exalting her beauty and her form. For the lover, the world is all roses and cherry blossom, as we see that it's the natural stage of human being. He sees beauty in every aspect of life during teenage, and this is the period in a person's life when he witnesses beauty and the feeling of more love and infatuation. We should also try not to forget here that the male lead of the play, in the play As You Like It, who is Orlando, he can be more closer in this stage of his life. So we can see it from the fact that he is deeply in love with Rosalinda, who is the protagonist of the play, but is he was unsuccessful in expressing his love for him. So this is about the third stage, which is the age of a lover. Now moving ahead. Then a soldier full of strange oaths and bearded like the part, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in fire, seeking the bubble reputation, even in the cannon's mouth. So the next age is that of a young soldier. The tender lover slowly transforms into a soldier in the battlefield of life, full of strange oaths and bearded like the part. That soldiers who takes up strange oaths of allegiance and honor and live by them. The speaker says here that a soldier is bearded like a panther, leopard. He is courageous and full of vigor with a never back down kind of attitude. So the soldiers jealously protect their honor and don't hesitate to quarrel in proving their point. At this stage of life, honor and reputation are very valuable to them, and they will ever prefer to death to guard their reputation. So thus this age is marked with courage and vigor and is the stage of life when a youth becomes a man. Now moving ahead. And then the justice in fair round belly with good capulline, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances, and so he plays his part. So after the stage of soldier, being a soldier, then he goes into middle age. So as in this stage, he is seen as a judge passing on judgment and protecting the people with law and order and rules. So this again is a generalization that the professions chosen by Shakespeare in the dialogue are not necessarily how people live their life, nor is it any indicator that the same order is followed in the professions in every human being's life. So the justice is shown as round bellied, well-to-do man eating chicken, which the speaker humorously says in lined in his belly in the form of fat, that he has a fatty tummy. His eyes are severe, and his beard is of a formal cut, which suggests his stern nature. He is full of wisdom and modern examples with where they are relevant. He carries about his part, imparting knowledge and carrying out the duty of justice. So this is all about his fifth stage. Now, after this, what is all about his sixth stage? The poet says like here, the sixth age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon. With spectacles on nose and pouch on side, his youthful pose, well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank, and his big manly voice turning again toward childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. You will notice that here that the poet also has used different literary device in the poem as well, that we find here in this particular stanza the alliteration which has been used in the lines in the repetitive sound of sub, slippered, spectacles, and side, worldwide, where the repetition of the sound were shrunk, shank. So here the sound is also repeated, and turning toward treble, the t sound is repeated here. So now this is the sixth stage. According to the speaker, The sixth stage is the entry of middle-aged man into sense. The person progressively becomes lean and frail, that he looks like an old fool, uh, wearing pantaloon in his ragged slippers. The old age comes with a gradual weakening of the senses, as we can see in these lines. An old man is often seen wearing corrective glasses and pouch on their side to carry their items. The youthful sinewy frame of the soldier now reduces to the lean and bony stature of the old man. So now the gradual degradation of his physical outlook as well we can see here. So the speaker makes a humorous comment that the person's shrunken bottom saves a wide space for his equally shrunken legs in his mouth. That is just another way to say that the person becomes slim and lank. The once roaring and manly voice of the soldier and the authoritative voice of the justice reduces in pitch and volume in this middle age, becoming something akin to childlike in the old man. His voice whistles as he talks. We see the effect of the time and age upon a person's life here. Now, moving ahead, last scene of all that ends this strange eventful history is second childness and mere oblivion, sense teeth, sense eye, sense taste, sense everything. The last of the ages is what is leading into the finality of death. The speaker calls it as the last scene of all in the play of the person's life on the stage of the work. We see a continuation of the metaphor developed in the former lines of the dialogue in this final section. Shakespeare calls this journey of a person through the seven ages a strange and eventful history. He describes this final stage of life as a second childishness, where the person enters into oblivion. Dotis causes a loss of all senses and person is left with nothing. In this age, we see a return to dependency in this stage of life, that at the final stage of life, the man becomes totally dependent on others. The final line is characteristic as it represents the negative aspect of life and can be related to biblical references, as it is argued that Shakespeare chose the seven stages of life to mimic the biblical reference to the seven deadly sins. And in that respect, the sense everything phase can be regarded as an experience of hellish life. Thus, from Jacques' soliloquy, we witness a journey from infancy to infirmity through the seven ages of a man, through the seven different phases of human life. So, this is all about the explanation or the comprehensive idea of this poem, that we find the theme of this poem as the speaker has propounded in the futility of life. That the whole poem, it breaks down complexities of human life into simple stages and makes a sweeping generalization as to the manner in which an individual progresses in life. The entirety of human life and the poet's view on it is covered in the dialogue of Jacques in merely 7 sentences, we can say. The dialogue stands as a strong case for the poet's argument of the futility of life. We see this mentioned well explored in the play. For instance, we see in the same scene the line, "And so from hour to hour we ripe and ripe, we wrote and wrote, and thereby hangs a tale." So this particular line has been used by the character in the play. So this all the mood validates the sentiment of futility of human life expressed in this soliloquy, that a kind of nihilistic vision or hopeless view about life. If we talk about the technical aspect of this poem, that we find that the dialogue has no rhyme scheme. There is no presence of internal rhymes as well as the external rhymes. And however, we see that there is a repetition of consonant sounds throughout the poem, like man, merely, many, mulling, morning, etc., and players, plays, parts, speaking. So these are prominent examples, which examples used to these repetition actually used to emphasize and dramatize a single sentence, dramatize the scenario, or to emphasize the it also add literary aesthetic essence to the poem as well. And we also can found that the dialogue, which it starts with the phrase all the world sustains, which is a widely acclaimed example of a metaphor where this world is compared to a stage and the people are the actors. And we also find in the poem in the third line when he says that we have their they have their exist and their entrances. So in this point we find antithesis has been used from the by the poet, that two opposite ideas, opposite things has been talked about. And if we talk about the literary device simile, which we can find in the phrase creeping like snail and sighing like a furnace and bearded like a part. So these are the examples of simile in the text of this poem. So this is all about the so now thank you students. Now we will meet again in our next lecture. Thank you.